Hi, welcome back to another video. And in this video, we will talk about RAG, and we will see a RAG example with LangChain. So let's talk about a RAG a little bit, and then we will go see how the RAG works, and then we will see how it works in the code with the LangChain. So let's start. So okay, so what is RAG? RAG is basically a process we use in AI where we retrieve some information from a large set of the data, and then we use that information to generate the text. So there are two parts of the RAG. The first one is retrieval, and the second part is generation. And in first part, you find relevant information out of the big collection of documents. I will show you exactly how we will create a document, how we will make a chunk of document, and how we will search those documents. And then there is a generation part. In the generation part, we will see how we will pass the retrieved information to the AI model to generate the text based on the information we are providing him. And the purpose of the RAG is so we have more accurate results with very less hallucinations and more specific results. Let's say you are working in a company and you want to get the results about something happening inside the company. So what you will do, you will provide all the documents of your company to the RAG system, and RAG, it will first search those documents, get the relevant information, and it will generate the output or answer based on the information you provided it. So that's how you would only get the relevant answers which are relevant to your company data, and there will be less or equal to very less or maybe zero hallucination from the AI model. So let's look at it. Let's look at the diagram how the whole RAG system works. So I'm gonna switch here, and this is the diagram. So we have two parts. The first part is retrieval, and the second part is generation. So let's look at the first part. In the first part, what we do is that we get a big document. Let's say it's a big document. It's a whole report. Let's say a report of 600 pages. We will do, we will chunk this big document into n number or any number of small documents. This chunking means you are dividing a big document into a lot of small documents. So that, and the reason for the chunking is that the tokens or the text you are going to feed to the AI generated, it's not, you cannot feed the whole book to the AI system. You can only, there is always a fixed number of token you can pass to the AI model. So you need to find relevant information which is relevant for the query asked, and you can pass only that information related to that query to the AI model. So instead of passing the whole document, which is maybe 700 page, maybe which have maybe let's say 70,000 words, we will make a chunks of let's say 200 word each chunk. We will pass only the relevant chunk, and using chunking, that's how we will, and that's how we will use chunking to only feed relevant data to the AI model. And then the second part, so this is the first part, chunking, where you will create a lot of small documents out of big document. There are a couple of ways we do chunking, and I am going to have a separate video about the chunking where I will explain the strategies we use for a chunking and how exactly the chunking work in a separate video that is come after this video. So for now, the chunking is a way where we divide a big document into a lot of small documents so that we can feed only relevant information to the AI model. So after that, we turn these chunks into embedding documents. What is the embedding documents? So embedding is the process of converting English text to numbers. And why we do it? Because when you try to do a semantic search, it can only be done on numbers. It cannot be done on the text. I'm not going to go into the details how the semantic search work. We will have a separate video about that. But the idea is the purpose of the whole RAG is to do a semantic search. And what the embedding is, it's a numerical representation of a English or any language text. So basically, by embedding, we are converting a text to a numerical representation so that we can run some algorithms on that to find a similarity. So once you will have the embedded documents, you will save that in a vector DB. Vector DB is a type of database where we save embeddings. It's a type of, it's not the DB name. There are a couple of different DB available, there are different DB available. You can select any of them based on your needs. Okay, that's the first part where we are saving that information into the vector DB. And then once, let's say, then there is this part. So what will happen when the user will query something? So once the user will query something, let's say user will ask something, hi, can you give me a recipe for how to bake a fish? What you will do, you will convert the user query into embedding. You will pass it to the embedding model, which will convert it into a embedding. And then you will use a retriever. It's a particular type of class. I will explain in the code how does the retriever work. You will pass it to the retriever, which will have a couple of algorithms, and it will use those algorithms to match this embedding you have here with the embeddings you have in the vector DB. And that's how you will find those chunks of this document which have relevant information about the query what the user asked. And once you will get the relevant chunks, you will pass them to the AI model, which will generate the base result, which will generate the result based on the information from these chunks. So that's how the RAG model works. I know it's a bit complex, and maybe a lot of things they are not making any sense to you. But let's dive into the code, and I will show you step by step how everything works. Let's start. So what I will do, first I will create a new folder here. I will call this and rack intro. And I have this one big document which have a lot of information about the city of Dubai. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this document to this file. And next thing, I'm also going to create a copy of this one file, and I'm going to move the copy version here. And I will rename it. Okay, so let's start. So the first thing okay, the first part is okay, so first part is okay, let's do it like this. The first part we are going to do read the file, okay, read the complete document. And second thing I will do create chunks from this document. Third part, create embedding and save in the vector DB. Fourth part is get the query from the user. Fifth part is convert embedding of user query. And then we have retrieve IEV retrieve relevant chunks, pass these chunks to the AI model and get the response. AI model and get the response. Okay, so these are all the things we are gonna do in this video. So let's start. We are gonna import the OS module here from the Python default one. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna use, I have this code. I'm gonna bring this code here, and this code it's relevant to the reading the. Okay, so actually my file name is Dubai, and I'm gonna remove this one from here. Okay, so I'm also gonna remove this one. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I am getting a current directory, and then I'm joining it. I'm getting a file path by joining the current directory path with the file I have here, and then I am also getting this. I'm also gonna create one directory to save my vector DB. Okay, so the next part I am gonna use is that. Okay, so let's do the first part. The first part is what we will do. First, we will check if this file path, if this exists or not. So for that, I will write a if logic. If not os.path.exist, and I will pass this path from here to here. Okay, so that's how I will be checking if this path exists or not. If this path does not exist, what I will do, I will generate an error, file not found error. Okay, and I will say doesn't exist. And but let's say if we are we have passed this stage and this file does exist. So what I'm going to do, I am going to read the data from this file. And to read the data from the file, in LangChain, we have something called data loaders, and there are a whole lot of them. I can go you to the browser and show you. Okay, so for retrieval, you have a whole lot of existing classes. Like you want to load some text from the document, you can create your own custom document loader. You can load some data from CSV file. You can read everything from the file directory, from HTML, JSON, PDF. There are a whole lot of classes available. For our use case, I will be using a text loader, okay, because we have the text file and I'm going to use that one. So for that, I will import this one from here. And the next thing I am going to do is that I'm gonna create an instance of this loader, and I'm gonna say text loader, and I'm gonna pass the file path to it so it knows from which file it have to load the text. And then I am gonna say documents is equal to loader dot load, and it what this line will do, it will read the document from using this text loader from this file path, and it will save it in this variable. So next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna print this. So you can see how it is working till now. Oh, so what I'm gonna do here, I am gonna say video tutorial. I'm gonna close this, I'm gonna do this, and I am gonna do this. Then I am gonna do this. So I'm gonna run this to see how does it work. It says no module, this module did not find. Okay, so we need to install this module. Just give me a minute. Okay, so we are going to install this dependency, this one, and for that, I'm going to copy the name of this one, and I am actually going to use Control C. I'm going to use exit, and then I am going to run this command. The command is poetry add, and the package, we have the package name from here. I'm going to put the package name here, and I'm going to run this. It's going to take a couple of seconds to download this dependency. Okay, so we are gonna again go to the shell and we are gonna run the same code again. So see, it has read the whole document here. This is our file. It have read a complete document about the Dubai here. So next thing I am gonna do is I'm gonna create a chunks out of this document. Okay. So for the creating a chunks, actually I'm gonna comment down this one. I am gonna create a chunk, and to create the chunk, I am gonna actually, let's go here again, back to here. We will go to this text splitters. So text splitters are, it have all the classes which are responsible for creating the chunks and splitting the text. Okay, you can explore these classes later, but you can split by character, split by code, split by markdown, split by JSON. It have all the helpful classes. But for our case, we are gonna use a character based splitter. So we will be using this one. So to use this one, I will copy this, and actually I will copy this from here and I will bring it here. Okay, so right view here, and I will run it again to see if we have to import this as well. We have to download this dependency. It look like we don't have to download any dependency. Actually, I'm going to remove all this code because we don't need this anymore. This is from the previous example. So I will remove this code and I will keep this model part. Okay, so I will save it. So the next thing I'm going to do was I was going to use this character. I will create a text splitter class and I will create an instance out of it of this character text splitter. And for this character text splitter, if you go to the dependency, you can see it create chunks based on the number of characters. So there is chunk size, you can pass the chunk size, and then there is a separator, like how it should separate the chunk, and then there is chunk overlap. So the chunk overlap is if let's say if you have 1200, if you have 2500 characters in the file and you pass this setting, what it will do, it will create a first chunk from the characteristic from 0 to 1000. And actually I'm going to copy this from here and I am gonna pass it here. I'm gonna pass to the 100. What does this mean? This mean, let's say if your document have, let's say it have 3000 characters. Okay, what will happen? The first chunk that will be created have 0 to 1000 chunks characters. Second chunk it will create, because of the chunk overlap, it will read the characters from, let's say, 900 to 1900. There is overlap of 100 characters. So that's the purpose of this chunk overlap and so on. And the purpose of this chunk overlap, I will explain this when we will be in the separate video about chunking, where I will discuss in details about different chunking strategies. For now, I will keep it like this. And then I am going to pass my, I'm going to say documents. Actually, let's say call it chunks. And I am gonna call the text splitter dot split document, and I'm gonna pass my document to it. Actually, this is a single document, so I will call it document, and I will say that this document. So the next thing I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna print the sample chunk and total number of chunks. So what I will do, I will say print. Okay, let's put a new line, and then let's format this, and we will say chunk number of chunk count. Let's say chunk count, and we will pass this. And we will say the chunk. Okay, I'm gonna make this 500, so we will have a whole lot of chunks, and you will get better idea about how the chunk work. And these are the chunks we have created. So I'm gonna pass this here chunks dot. I'm gonna say actually I'm not using the. I'm gonna pass it to the len function, and this is how we are gonna get it. Okay, so let's run it. Okay, we have created a chunk of size which is longer than the specified 500. Okay, so we have 175 4 chunks. Actually, I am gonna say, actually I'm gonna make this to the 0 to see, to reduce the number of chunks. But I made some mistake. Chunk of size 560, which is longer than the specified. Okay, so this chunking basically it use the intelligence behind the scene, and it doesn't cut the words. It keep the words, it keep the line at least, so that you have a complete information. That's why some chunks are bigger than the other one. Let's make it 1000. Now we have only 86 chunks. So I'm gonna do something like 1000 with 100 overlap. So let's go with that one. So we have divided our documents into 87 smaller chunks. Now the next thing is create the embedding and saving in the vector DB. So for the vector DB, so the first thing I'm gonna do is that I need the to create an embedding, you need the AI model which can create an embedding for you. So the first thing I'm gonna use is that I need to import the embedding model. Okay, so for that, I am gonna pass something like this. Okay, so we have the this information here, and based on this, we are gonna create the instance of this AI model. We are gonna say embedding model, and we are gonna pass this the we are gonna create an instance of this, and we are gonna say model would be the next thing I am gonna do. I am gonna import the chroma, which is vector DB. So I'm gonna import chroma here from the which is a vector DB, and you can see chroma here. And we are gonna create an instance of this chroma. And here I'm gonna say okay. So from the chroma, we are saying chroma to create embeddings, and we are passing our chunks here to this function, and we are passing this embedding model here, and we are telling it to use this directory to save our vector db. Okay, so let's put the a print statement after here, and let's say finished step 3 done, and we are done with the we are done. Okay, this is just for a reminder to know that our code exec would executed successfully. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna run this, and let's wait for a minute to see the output. Okay, we got the error. Okay, we need to install this chroma db dependency. For that, I am gonna exit from here, and I am gonna go to this. We are going to say poetry at chroma db, and let's wait for a minute for it to finish. Okay, so we are gonna go back to the shell and gonna run the file again. Let's wait for a couple of minutes, couple of seconds, and then we will have our, see, it have created a new document here. It have created a new folder to save our database here. And that means we have successfully generated the our vector DB. So one more thing I'm going to do, because I'm going to run this code couple of times, and to save the cost of calling the OpenAI model, I am going to add the code. If we have generated this chroma DB once, we don't need to run all this code again and call the OpenAI embedding. So for that, what I am going to do is that I am going to say here, after getting, I'm going to say if uh, not, I'm gonna copy this line of code here, and I'm gonna paste it here, and I'm gonna pass the directory. What essentially I'm saying here, if this path does not exist, okay, if this path does not exist, then you need to run this code, which is responsible for creating that part and dynam and my vector db there. But if this path exists, that means I have already executed this part of the code, and I already have my vector db. So I will say else int db already exist with required information. So the whole purpose of writing this code is to not call the OpenAI model, embedding model, every time I'm going to run this file. If the vector DB it got created once and it exists, we are going to just move forward to the next path. Okay, so let's move to the next path. Okay, so in the next path, we are going to use a sample query. We are going to use the query and the user query. Let's say the user actually. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move this one out of the context as well so that I can use it below as well. I'm going to move this here. Okay, so I can use this embedding model again. And what else? Okay, so I'm going to get the query. My query would be what you want to know about the Dubai. Let's say ask it how much the oil account for Dubai GDP. Okay, now if you go back to the diagram, you will the first thing we need to do, we need to convert this query to need to convert this query to a vector using embedding model. So we have the embedding model. What I am going to do, I am going to do is that okay, actually, we're not going to focus onto that. There is a type of classes in the LangChain, which is called retriever, which is going to do it behind the scene. It is going to convert into the retriever and then it's going to search it. So we are going to just going to use that directly. And I'm going to do also one more thing. I am going to use a DB here. Okay, so we need, in case of else, we need to initialize our DB. And for DB, I am actually we need to write it here. And here I need to create a DB because this code will not get executed. So we need to have a DB. And I am gonna say Chroma. Actually, let's create a instance of type Corona. And then what the next thing I'm gonna do is that I am gonna pass this the persistent directory. And the next thing I'm gonna pass it to the embedding function, which is my embedding model. Okay, so yeah, so that's what I'm gonna pass it. And then I'm going to create, if you go to the LangChain, where is the LangChain? You will see here they have the retrievers. So retrievers is an interface which will take the user query, convert it into the, which will convert, and then it will retrieve the similar documents from the vector DB. There are a whole lot different type of the retrievers, and we will explore them later in different videos in this course. But for now, let's go to the very basic one. Okay, so we are gonna use a retriever on this DB, and we are gonna say we are gonna get the retriever RET retriever and DB dot as retriever. I'm saying give me this DB as retriever, and I am saying use the search. I need to pass a couple of parameters. The first one is the search type. So for the search type, I will use similarity search threshold. We will explore what these parameters are and how they work later in another video where we will discuss these retrievers in detail. But for now, just use this option, okay? And then we are going to use these search parameters, which essentially mean that when you are retrieving a document, retrieve the k number. K is the number of documents you are going to retrieve, and only retrieve those documents where the retrieval score is more than 0.9%, 0.9 more than this. don't get any chunk which have a score lower than this. So, and then we are gonna get the relevant documents. Relevant, actually, this will go here, not here. Relevant chunks. Okay. And I am gonna say, I'm gonna call this retriever dot invoke method. You have seen this invoke method a whole lot till now. We discuss what is this invoke and how does it work in a previous change example. So I'm not gonna go into that detail here. And I am gonna pass my query to it. Actually, these two will get covered here. So once we will get the relevant chunks, let's print those chunks here. And okay, that's super. We don't got any information. Need to see what went wrong here. Okay, so apparently the issue we were getting was that we kept the threshold very high, and right now I have lowered the threshold to 0.1%, and I'm gonna account of oil in Dubai GDP, and I'm gonna run this again to show you. Okay, okay, this is the information we are getting, and this is actually we got how many chunks? Let's print all the chunks line by line, and yeah, let's actually print all the chunks. And for that, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna say for I and chunk in rate. I'm gonna say chunk number, and then I am going to print the chunk content. And for chunk content, and then I am gonna have one more new line character, and I'm gonna remove this one from here, and I am gonna print this now, run this again to see what we. Okay, so we got three chunks. The first one is this, the second one is this, and the third one is this. So that's how we got the chunks. Now I am gonna pass this to my I'm gonna pass this to my agent. This information I'm gonna pass to my AI agent to show you how does this exactly work. So for that, what I am gonna do, I am gonna create a prompt, and then I'm gonna pass the information based on that prompt. So we have the relevant chunks. Now the last part of the information is, so the last missing part is, if I go here, is we have these chunks. Now we're going to pass this to the model to get the response for the user query. So for that, we are going to use something we discussed before, which was chat prompt. Okay, so for that, so will be using a prompt, and I'm going to copy this one from here, and Actually, I'm gonna copy this one from here, and I'm gonna bring this one to here, and I'm gonna paste this here. These are my messages, and I'm gonna create one more thing is what should I call this? I'm gonna call this rack prompt, rack system prompt, PROMPT, MPT, and I am going to say you are expert in answering and answering question question. Use the following pieces, PIECS, pieces of retrieved, retrieved context to answer the question. If you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know the answer. If you don't know the answer, say, I don't know the answer. ANSWER, and give answer into line. Give answer in one line. Okay. And I'm gonna pass this relevant chunks from here to okay. Now I am gonna say this, replace this one with this. Okay, and for the human message, we will be using the query. And now this is how we have our messages list. And the next thing, I am gonna go back to the here, and actually we copied this from here. So we'll go back here, and I will say, I will get this part from here, and I will bring this back here. Okay, so I'm gonna put this here, and I am gonna say, actually, let's go back here. Actually, let's go back here in the here, and let's copy. Let's actually copy this as well and come back here, and I'm gonna paste this down actually here. Okay, so it will pass messages to this one. I will remove this because I'm not passing any information in using this. And what is the next thing I'm gonna do? Yeah, let's run it and see what we get in the response. Actually, I am going to comment this part of code, so we will not get relevant chunks printed to the on the console. Okay, there is some error. Okay. Okay, so it should be assign pass this information as the wait a minute, wait a minute. Did we miss something? Okay, so coming back to here, we made some mistake. Basically, these are actually an object. So first thing we have to do, we have to make the chunks out of it. We have to convert this to a string so we can put it here. And for that, we will use this code here. Actually, what essentially this code is doing, it is putting some new line characters, and then it is getting the relevant chunks and putting the only the page content something like in one place. And then once we will have this, we need to also format this. Okay, so from this we will get this, and we will pass this here like this, and now I will run this again. And here is our answer. So it gave us a very precise answer. Dubai oil account for less than 1% of Dubai GDP. So that's it for this example. And in this and so it gave us this answer, and I know was a big tutorial. So that's it for this tutorial. Let's see you in the next video again with some more examples of the RAG.